Let me say something provocative, but I think it's true. Is that why we keep getting racial allusions from Newt Gingrich? Newt Gingrich tonight brought back the food stamps president thing. He's been doing that, bringing that up in Florida. And then tonight he went to President Obama ought to stop singing, ought to stop being the entertainer in chief, essentially caricaturing him in a way that almost calls out to minstrelsy. Yeah. I mean, Reverend Al?
I think you're right, which is why I brought Herman Cain back in the conversation, because he had no problem with Mr. Cain. But I think that he is clearly going after what he considers a Southern mentality with racial illusions, and always wrapped around when he refers to the president. When he talks about this food stamp stuff, these are Newt Gingrich is many things. Stupid is not one of them. He knows exactly what he's saying. He knows exactly who he's playing to. And when you look at that map, he knows, as you deal with that northern border of Florida, which is southern Alabama, and all of those states where they're headed, he knows what card he's playing. And he also knows this: even if he can't run, Steve, a campaign that is sharp enough to take the nomination, the worst thing that could happen to Mitt Romney is he become the leader of that conservative bloc that Mitt Romney's got to deal with in Tampa at that convention. I think that I agree with Chris. The only guy would be happy with that would be Ron Paul. Because can you imagine if he walks in that convention as the leader of the conservative wing of the Republican Party, what those negotiations are going to look like? Because Newt Gingrich is not the kind of guy you want to negotiate with.
There's two numbers that Gingrich is looking at tonight. 4 in 10 people that were surveyed don't think he's conservative enough. Mitt Romney's not conservative enough. 4 in 10 people surveyed want somebody else. I was listening to Newt tonight. I'm thinking, is this guy thinking about a possible independent run?
Yeah.
I mean, he's ripping on the Republicans. He's ripping on the establishment. He's talking as if he's further to the right than where the Republicans are right now, coding messaging constantly in his speech, piece by piece. Romney's not your guy. I'm your guy. I'm staying in this thing. I've got the base of the South. And I just think that he's looking at those two big numbers tonight to keep him going. And that's what he's going to be selling hard to the people that are going to possibly write him a check.
We hear, at least I hear, I'll speak only for myself here, when Mr. Gingrich talked tonight about the president as an entertainer-in-chief, as somebody who ought to stop singing and deal with the real problems of the country, coming on the heels of him calling him a food stamp president, I hear racially coded language there. I hear Mr. Gingrich trying to appeal to Southern white conservatives who may be responding to essentially racially biased coded language about the president that's designed to call on the resentment of African-American achievement in this country. Am I wrong to see it that way?
It's baloney. And you know, MSNBC ought to get off this race-baiting kick. If you want to talk about race-baiting, if you want to talk to the Republican Party was started by Abraham Lincoln. We fought a civil war. The 6 of the 9 planks in the 1856 platform were civil rights platforms. This started as a civil rights party. If you go back to the 1856 Democratic platform, it's a racist platform. So we can go down this road, but
what about
the Republican
tonight,
Party
though?
has a proud history.
What about tonight?
Well,
what about?
Look,
I mean, you can talk about what happened to the parties after the Civil War and through Reconstruction and through this century, through this past century.
Right. And the guy who stood in the.
Let me just finish the question, and then I promise I'll shut up. Food stamp president. That I will go to the NAACP and tell them to be dissatisfied with food stamps and that they should demand paychecks. And this president is an entertainer-in-chief and ought to stop singing and start dealing with the real problems of the country. There is a pattern here of very, I think, obviously racially coded language that has nothing to do with the parties in the Civil War.
I don't understand this. I mean, the president sings, Newt Gingrich makes a little thing, and all of a sudden it's a racist thing. More people are on food stamps today because of Barack Obama. And look, the Democratic Party, look, they fail in their schools. You can ask Al Sharpton about that. I think he would agree that the Democrats have failed in the public schools with the African Americans. They abort their babies. They've done nothing to lift them out of poverty. And you know what? I mean, I hear all the time that the Democrats have these great intentions, but their policies fail. Maybe we have good intentions too, but our policies haven't been tried. How about we just accept that we both have the right intentions for everybody to rise out of poverty, and you talked about that before, and that maybe we should try our policies that put people back to work and not give them a handout, tell them to live in public housing, shut up, collect a check, and vote for Democrat.
Yeah,
I don't accept that. I don't buy this race baiting.
That is not what Newt Gingrich said. Newt Gingrich is who brought race up in this campaign. He didn't say...
Tell me when he did, Al.
I'm getting ready to tell you. He said, and I'm quoting him, that he would go to the NAACP and tell tell black people to stop being satisfied with food stamps. He didn't say people on food stamps. He says black people don't be satisfied with food stamps, that they should demand jobs. He said that black people have in communities that youngsters don't have role models. This is not what he said when he went on the tour with Me for Education, a tour that President Obama asked him to go on. So he's brought race in the campaign by name. You cannot then turn around and act like Rachel or I bringing up race. Wait a minute, I'm going to let you finish, but I'm going to finish this part. He brought up race. Now you need to answer his bringing up. If he didn't want to deal with race, why did he bring up race? And it is a patent untruth that President Obama has more people on food stamps. More people went on food stamps, new food stamp recipients, under George Bush than under President Obama. Would you call him a food stamp president?
We're not running against George Bush. We're running against Barack Obama and his failed policies.
Answer the fact. If more people went on food stamps under George Bush, since you just said that Obama had more, that is factually incorrect.
Al, 98% of African Americans vote Democrat. Okay? And what have they gotten for it? They've gotten poor schools, poor neighborhoods, crime-ridden neighborhoods, a destruction of the family, and the Democrats want to abort their babies. So, that's their position. I'm not going to defend that. That's not the Republican convention. That's the Democrat position.
Black people have voted Democrat because the Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act, and many of their members of Congress,
which more Republicans as a percentage voted for than Democrats.
That we vote our interests. When the Republicans were the Abe Lincoln Party and was the party in Little Rock, we voted Republican. Like anybody else in America, sir, we vote our interests. Listen, Republican or not. Why would we vote for people that call our parents criminals, that says that you can't even admit you're wrong on the facts on food stamps? We're not sadists or masochists.